Ooh. Hey kids, can you hear me? I think you can because it's moving.
Hello, everybody. All right.
Oh, we hear you. Thank you, Allison.
We're also going to the Hershey show and looking to purchase
Woot woot.
Captain Doug's Crazy Life. What are you going to purchase there, Captain Doug? If you want to meet up, yes, I was looking at places to stay for the week.
Yeah, a couple people looks like they're chiming in that they're going to Hershey. I wonder if we're slow, lagging. It's always hard to tell with chat.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give it just maybe a minute or so. Let people get on here. Usually takes about a few minutes after, so.
How's Florida? Florida's good. Florida's been warm, great weather. I think it's going to cool down a little bit this week, but
like for a day.
Yeah, you go back up. So.
It's been really nice. I mean, it's kind of that kind of weather where it's like perfect until you're like right in the sun and then you feel like you're a little sizzly. But I like it a lot.
Check them out as well as possible.
Good, Allison. I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, we actually bought at the RV show, but we went to some local dealers to kind of get the lay of the land and kind of try to narrow it down. So that's a good way to do it. But yes, picking the right dealer is important. Good to do the due diligence.
Yeah, I mean, when we bought ours at the Tampa RV show, but we bought it from Blue Compass, who had, they were essentially the alliance dealer there, and they were okay.
Yeah.
Now, granted, again, this was during the pandemic, or at the tail end of it, and I'm about to sneeze.
Look at the light.
What does that do? I don't know.
It's supposed to make you sneeze when you have to sneeze.
I never understood what that does.
I don't know.
It doesn't make me squint. Anyway, so we go to Blue Compass, and now they were cool in that they brought the RV from Georgia, and they had it in Georgia, and they'd agreed to transport it down to Tampa, and they actually stored it for quite a while because we bought the RV, but we didn't have a truck, and it wasn't time for us to go.
Yeah. We had several months before we were just like you guys, we were in the middle of getting rid of things and downsizing, and we knew we were going to do it, but we weren't quite ready. And so they gave us a great offer at the Tampa show, and we were like, all right, but you got to hold on to it because we don't have a place to put it. We didn't want to pay for storage quite yet, so they held on to it for us. So
yeah, they were really cool about that. But then we kept fixating on the main thing was, we got the inspection done. And
that was a question recently, just today, about inspections. So good.
Yeah, and it's totally, I would recommend having an inspection done even on a brand new RV, because it's one of those things. Once you drive it off the lot, it's yours.
Yeah,
and
hard to get it fixed. It's hard to get back in and on their schedule to get what you need done in a timely manner. That was our big thing, and we'd heard it from so many people about don't drive it off the lot until you know everything's been done, because getting back in to get it fixed is problematic. So we took that to heart.
Yeah, and I didn't, obviously I'd never bought an RV before, and I certainly didn't have any idea what an RV inspection was all about. Wow, I didn't. I mean, that guy he went over that thing with a magnifying glass, or this thing, I should say, and just pointed out it was like a 25-page document by
stuff we would never have known to look at.
Yeah, I mean, being like crazy nitpicky, but I guess, that's what they get paid to do. And I think it was like $700 or something.
It was like 8 something. Yeah, that was the conversation today. Someone got a quote, and I think it was well over, was it 1,200 that somebody recently paid? So I think it really depends where you're at, who it is, price shop, make sure whatever the rate you're getting, you're comfortable with it and you're comfortable with the person, like the person is really seasoned and knows their stuff. So that's something to consider too.
Yeah, and so the objective is just to you have this inspection done, and then you hand it to the dealer and say, basically, we need all this fixed before we can take delivery.
Yeah. And hey, when you're going and you're negotiating with these guys, someone was talking about hitches the other day. I think I mentioned this in the comments. We negotiated several things in the price of the sale of the RV to us. So, it's funny. I don't even think we did it knowingly. We were just kind of staying quiet and just been like, well, we don't have a truck and we don't have a hitch and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden they came back with an offer of including the hitch installation and the hitch.
Yeah, and I was like,
Okay.
And I was like, so what hitch is it? He just said, what hitch do you want?
Yeah.
And I said, the B&W Companion. He's like, okay. And then he just wrote it down. And I felt like, wow, okay. I felt like I got away with something. I guess I didn't. And grand scheme of things, it's, they've got the markup on the RV.
Yeah. And we got like a travel package that came with ours that was like roadside assistance, and
we've never used it.
We've never used it, but we have it in case it happens.
Well, I sleep better at night when I have it. Okay. Well, anybody who's
if you guys have questions, just start. We have a lot of new people that have come in recently. So if you've never been on one of these lives, we literally just start going through the comments, answering your questions. You can ask about anything, about what you're going through, questions about the course, about us and things you may have seen in our video, whatever you want. Just ask away. But this is time for us to dig in on your things, your questions. That's what we're here for. So feel free to throw those in the comments.
Did you have any questions that we're getting in the group?
I think the inspection one was one, and I think it was just more like they're expensive. And I know that like I said back, I think it was Allison maybe. I know that they are expensive and it is a hard thing to fork out, but it's definitely worth it. Just again, you can shop around and ask a lot of questions. You never know, you might be able to get a better deal. So, let's see. I didn't write a ton down. I was going to ask you guys what you're digging into right now. Like, what's something you've gone through in the course? I know one of our gentlemen that's on here literally bought yesterday or this morning or something. So I know you haven't really gotten started yet, but you can definitely tell us where you're at or what you've seen in the course that's really resonated, or maybe you have more questions with. You can put that in there.
Allison has a question. I'm not sure I know the answer. Have we had to deal with this? Can you get a driver's license via mail from your domicile state, or do you physically have to be there?
So far, I've renewed everything online.
A driver's license.
A driver's license, meaning you don't have one in your...
Well, so, every now and then you have to have your actual license renewed. You have to...
Yeah, I did mine online.
Really? You didn't have to have a new picture?
I didn't. I told them I could use the same picture. So I think it might depend on your state, though. Yeah. Let's see here. Are you guys planning on making the winter stay in Florida every year thing? No.
Interesting you say that.
Well, no, maybe somewhat, but not whole winter like we're doing this year.
We talked about the challenge with us is still kind of with our kids. We just determined that, the flying to New Orleans was fun. It was expensive for us because their kids are not paying their way. Although I have a funny feeling, we're kind of at that dividing point now where it's like our son, he really needs to get off the payroll, because he's on the other payroll of his boss and his company. He makes good money. But you
also want to see him. So
yeah, it's like concerned, like if you give him some kind of ultimatum, like, well, you're going to have to fly yourself here for Christmas, and be like, no, I can't do that. And you're like, dang.
But then again, when we were young, married, and we lived in Texas, and we made those drives and stuff like that. So I don't know. We're probably gonna have to cut the cords on that.
We're gonna have to broach that with him and say, look.
But dude, the problem is we try to. He's in Florida. He still lives in Florida, and our daughter, we just fly to wherever we are because she goes to school in Northern Ohio, and our family is from Indiana, but we don't want to be in Indiana. We don't want to take a rig to Indiana in the middle of winter. It's just us. We don't want to do it. And so in the past, we've all flown everybody there, boarded the dog. It's a nightmare. Like we've just decided that's not happening anymore. So it's been a little bit of a juggle deciding when we go to our hometown and see the family, when we do things with just our family. So we might come back just for the Christmas, maybe Tampa RV shows period. And then we're going west. We would prefer to stay in the west because we can boondock.
Yeah. Yes, that was a very long answer.
It was a very.
You're probably wondering why the heck are they talking about their kids and all this. So it's really just thinking about coming back to Florida and just flying the daughter down here.
Yeah, that's kind of what.
Just for a short period.
Just a little bit. So not real long. I like Florida. I like boondocking in the west better. It's just not as crowded, and we can boondock. You can boondock in Florida. It's just a different vibe, totally. So let me see here. Mark. Oh, Mark is our new guy.
Annette and I just watched the introduction of the course today. We're planning on starting full time in 18 months. Both retired up here in Alaska.
Alaska, wow.
Ready for warmer winters.
I bet you are.
What's the temperature outside your door right now? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, Mark, let us know that. That's perspective right there. Oh yeah, Allison, that's a great point. Everyone should sign up for the RV maintenance course. It really is good, guys, to have. Just even if you don't go through the whole thing at once, just that home study course, just having it when something happens to refer to and get deeper information on the systems, I think is totally worth it. And we have that 30% off. So sometimes they'll run 40% off on their site, but if you click through, you'll always get the 30% off with our link. So whatever they have going on.
There you go. Stay with the top manufacturers. Top end manufacturers are New Horizons, Lux, DRV. Next down is Brinkley Alliance, Crossroads, Redwood, and Grand Design.
Yeah, it's all about your budget, though.
So. Yeah, totally. We're more in the Alliance Brinkley area.
Yeah, we're barely in the Brinkley area.
Yeah. Unusually warm, 35 degrees today. Almost no snow in the yard. Usually about 2 or 3 feet.
That's what I think of when I think of Alaska. We're just watching something on Sled Dogs. So
that was actually in Canada.
Oh, is it Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. So. All right. So
as far as let's talk a little bit about the RV. There's a little RV conversation going on. And if you guys haven't heard our story about Alliance, when we bought our Alliance, we had eyed a few different brands. We went to the Tampa RV show, and we had an idea of what we were debating between a Grand Design. We knew that we wanted a toy hauler, and that was kind of the plan. And we had looked at this. Actually, if you guys have ever watched the Venturesome Couple RV or YouTube channel, at the time they had this exact rig, and that was the first time I'd ever seen any videos of the side patio and the back patio, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool. It looks like a great place to put an office. So when we went to the RV show, we were determined that we were definitely going to check out this rig, and then we had a bunch of other ones picked out. And actually, the Venturesome Couple were there.
Yeah.
They were there at the Alliance booth, and I was like, well, hate to be creepy, but we've been watching your videos, and they talked to us for a really long time. Yeah. It was actually super cold that day. We were all kind of huddled inside the RV. But the thing that I really appreciated about them is what's his name? Oh,
Chris. No, Chris.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris and Martha.
Chris and Martha. Okay. It was Chris. Chris kind of pulled me aside, and he's just like, look, man, I know you're looking at a bunch of different brands, different RVs. I did the same thing that you did. And said, but the conclusion that I came to with Alliance was that their whole thing, I think their tagline or whatever for their business is do the right thing.
It's on the walls inside their facility and in their factory where the factory workers work.
Yeah. And he said, basically, because in fact, when we talked to Alliance later on, actually at this Tampa RV show, the guy reminded me, he's just like, look, we build RVs. He said, what we actually do is we assemble them. So we're basically just taking parts that we get from other manufacturers and we assemble them in a certain way. And that's what all RV manufacturers do, basically. He said, so to Chris's point, he's just like, they all have a lot of the same parts, a lot of the same, they've got Moride over here and this thing over here. It's all it's so, and all of them are going to have something that goes wrong with them. So, but the thing that impressed me about Alliance is that they do the right thing. When stuff goes wrong, they take care of it.
We've had them get on Zoom calls with us. We've, FaceTimed us at the RV trying to help us get through something,
Which I totally appreciate. I mean, like when we first got the RV, again, I knew absolutely nothing. We got it, we parked it, and there was something basic that wasn't working. I think it was maybe the jacks or something, and we had no power. And the guy just like he said, "Hey, can you FaceTime me?" I'm like, yeah." So he's just like, to the left a little bit, to the left. Okay, see that purple thing right there? All right, let me. And he just guided me on exactly what to do. But the point being is that I called, he solved the problem with me right there on the phone,
Yeah.
using the technology that I had in my pocket. And I was just like, wow. Again, they treated me the way that I would want to be treated. And
so that's important when you're looking at your manufacturers. I mean, I will tell you, if you go and join a bunch of people's public Facebook groups, you're going to hear the worst. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Happy people very rarely constantly tell you how happy they are with their rigs. Dissatisfied people will scream louder than everybody else. So it's kind of hard to judge a whole brand off of the things that people are saying. So it's always, I tell people, go and walk up to somebody and ask them. If you're like, if you don't have a rig and you're not camping, you can't do that. But it's just like it's getting people's insights who are using it and stuff like that. It really does help you see the good and the bad and the ugly when you're making these kind of decisions.
That's really true. I mean, because occasionally we'll have people that come up, they're out there walking their dogs or whatever. They see us out, and they'll say, "How do you like your Alliance?
Mhm.
Or how do you like your Valor?"
Yeah.
And the conversation just starts, and I'm just sitting there minding my own business, and like, well, blah blah blah. Usually we talk about the good, and then inevitably you bring up the bad stuff.
Yeah. And it does happen, and we're not shy about it. I mean, even though we're technically Alliance ambassadors, that doesn't keep us from saying anything. Like, that was very clear when I talked to him. I'm like, we are always going to tell the truth, good and bad, about whatever's going on with this rig. So he's like, I wouldn't have it any other way. And so that's really important, the integrity, kind of things. So those are things to look into. And it's really good that the conversation in the chat here about brands that are made and warranted for full-time RV living. Some of them aren't. So that is true. If you go live in one that's full-time that isn't warranted for that, getting your help may be different. I don't know. I guess it's brand to brand.
Yeah, it's very, very important to look into that. But just, and that they've FedExed us parts. The thing, and I like that they have been really cool with, like, when there are repairs. Again, you guys know that we've never, or maybe you don't, but I'll repeat it again. We have never taken our RV to a dealer. We've never talked to the dealer that we bought it from since we left the lot. We've never even communicated with them.
Well, we're never there. And so,
no, I mean, why would we? It's like, I didn't really have a relationship with them, but we have talked to Alliance a lot, because our dealings are with Alliance. And this is before we were ambassadors. We were just owners of the RV. So, when we had an issue, they have a whole customer support thing. You send an email. But what I would do is I would ask them, hey, and I'm usually just pretty direct. I don't keep my emails. I keep them super short. I'm like, we're having this particular problem with our whatever part or whatever thing we have. Can I contact a mobile RV tech, or can I contact a mobile tech, and will you pay for it? And because they either come back to me and they'll say, I'm sorry, that's not covered under warranty, or that's out of warranty, or you'll have to contact Suburban about that, or whatever. But if the answer is yes, then they say, yes, we'll go ahead and guarantee 2 hours worth of time on that.
Because they understand, they get it. I mean, it's not that they don't get, like, you're full-time, you're in this thing. If you have to be displaced, it's a huge deal. So, and not everybody can take their rig back up to the factory. And frankly, we have to wait months to get into the factory. So, like this repair we're having done in September, that appointment was made in November. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that one kind of screwed us up. I mean,
yeah.
the deal with the Alliance, the crack in the slide. If you guys haven't watched that video, we had a crack on our slide. It's not frame flex, but honestly, I don't know the difference between frame flex and what the
No, it's
problem
an
was.
exterior crack because that slide is moving,
But it
basically.
had something to do with the frame, though, I thought.
Well, so when we went in originally, it was last spring, and the crack started off, like this, and ended up being about like that by the time.
That's a little.
That
I
was
thought,
it was that big. Yeah, it was totally that big by the time we got there, because I measured it, because I kept taking pictures, and it got all the way down to the sticker that's on the outside. Anyway, so they did open the whole front up. They took the front cap off, the sidewall off. They re-welded. At the time, we were some of the first ones that had the crack. And so they checked everything they could, and just re-secured it just in case, kind of thing, and then put it all back together. But what we're finding out is, because we were in the really early stages of the cracks, that you hear about, the frame flex, the cracks that started, it's usually in the toy haulers. That was where they saw it the most, because we have more length, I guess. So it came back, and I'm like, I was pissed. I was really salty, and I'm like, "Well, guys, what are you going to do about this? Why is it happening again?" And he was very direct. He said, "Look, you were one of the first ones. We now have done so many that we know where it's originating from. We know the fix. We know how to get it right, and we haven't had him come back after that." So, you know, I could get really up in arms and be like ranting and raving all over, but in the end, they're going to fix it. The biggest pain in the butt part of us is we had to completely reroute our trip for the summer, because we had to be back in Elkhart for the fall. But in the end, I was just like, okay, so we're not going to Washington State. We're going to hover around Michigan, Wisconsin, and we haven't seen that yet. So we have to see it as a positive, and we're just going to do that and go back to Elkhart, and they're going to take care of it. Plus, they're going to get us all zhuzhed up, because we think we're going to maybe get a different rig. So
yeah. So we're going to try to accomplish all that in that short period of time. I was watching our video on RV durability and finishes. They made a good point. If our sticks and bricks were constantly enduring 3.0 earthquakes, they'd fall apart eventually too. Yeah, I mean, again, these things are not made to last a super long time. They're really not, and especially they're not actually made to live in full time, and they're certainly not made to travel around, tons and tons of miles.
Yeah. I'm waiting to go back up to some of these other. Can you request a specific AC units but put on the unit in production? I would guess it depends if that's an upgrade.
I would look into, if you're going to spend the money, check out the Chill Cube.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of all the rage at the. I think what's that guy's name? Karen, the guy that does the video. Not Big Truck, Big RV, the other guy.
I don't remember.
Anyway, he does those.
Jared.
I was thinking. Jared.
RV near and far. No.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys probably watched Jared's video. He does really good videos. He does a lot of like more tech videos where he's just one of those guys. He's kind of a gearhead.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Chill Cube, the technology behind it, it's not a mini split. I did talk to them. Not that I really know that much about air conditioners. I'm no expert. But the technology is different than what you have in a typical RV. But the key is it's quieter. And because that's one of the biggest things I noticed about having never lived in an RV before, is that when we finally started living in one and having that air conditioner like literally right above me in my toy hauler, I had my desk right under it where it was blowing on my neck.
So is mine. It
was like blowing on my neck. I hated it. And I hated the cold on me all at once. And then I really hated the noise. And I ended up moving my entire desk to a different spot in the toy hauler. Not that I have that much room, just to get kind of away from it. And so yeah, the noise. If you can cut down on that, I
hesitate to turn it on because I can't stand hearing it all the time.
I've kind of went on little rants about that. In fact, I even said something to the Alliance guy about it. I was like, when is the RV industry going to catch up to this whole? He said, I feel like we're using the same air conditioning technology that we've been using for the last 40 years. there's got to be something better. And that's when I asked him about mini splits, and he said, well, the mini split conversation is actually a really old conversation. It's been going on in the industry for years. The problem is more that because the mini splits, you have to put basically put the condenser on that outside of the RV, and it has these hoses that come in. They're great, he said, but they have a real challenge doing that with their particular models. It has all to do with weight distribution and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the Chill Cube,
it seemed really cool, I gotta say.
For sure.
Lori's Lori, you watched the Wandering Shores. Yeah. So if you guys are into boondocking, or you think you want to be into boondocking, the Wandering Shores, they're just they're a small channel. There's some people we met at an escapers event, super nice. They do tons of hiking, boondocking, especially a lot in the West. But he always marks like different places he goes. So sometimes when I'm looking for boondocking ideas, he has a little map, and I'll go there and see where he's been. And sometimes his rig is a little smaller than us, but sometimes I'll ask him, you think we can get in there? But they're very nice people, and that's something that we're hoping to do as well, as we grow, and we're hoping to put that boondocking course out this year. Hopefully, we got to get back to boondocking to do that. But we would love to create an app that helps track and give you ideas of places to boondock eventually. So that's something, it's on that someday list that we have going. Let's see here. Dual pane windows. Do we have them? So do you recommend them? We do not have them. That's all I can say.
I'm sure they're nice.
I'm sure it's nice to have. Yeah, I don't know. I think I saw the pricing on that, and that wasn't something we would justify. I can't say we don't have condensation on our windows. We don't have, like, I can't tell you how much they block out heat and things like that. Like, I'm not sure. It's because I don't miss them because I don't have them. Put it that way.
When you installed your solar and lithium package, did you find that it avoided the factory warranty? No.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question to ask, but I mean, so many people are doing it now. Unless you, I mean, if you take all the components out, like, we didn't keep anything. So no, they've never asked about that, put it that way. So
I guess my question would be, what would your concern be? That how would they justify that?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is if you kept some components and like you changed other components, and then the components that came with it went bad, they might say, well, you altered the whole system. But we didn't keep any of it. So
I guess void the factory warranty for what? What part?
The solar, like, you mean like if it had something existing, because it doesn't relate to anything else in the rig, so you shouldn't have a problem there. But if you have like partial solar, like we had a small setup, and if we had kept some of that and then tried to use that in a warranty, I think they wouldn't have taken it. It's a good question to ask, though.
Yeah. Would love it if you did that.
If we tracked all we've had a lot of people ask us, about the different places we've stayed. We just haven't like put it in one place where you could see it. So maybe we'll get there eventually.
I've got a great idea for an app. I just don't have enough hours in the day to.
We have a lot of ideas for things. We just, with Barry still working a regular job full time, I think when hopefully we keep growing the way we're growing, and eventually we both can work on the channel, I think you'll see really cool stuff like that start popping up.
Yeah, for sure. That's the challenge. Anybody on the call come to the meetup this past Saturday?
We had 2 or 3 people from the course community come to the meetup, which was super cool. It was really fun, y'all. So I hope we can. It was easier to do in Florida because so many RVers are in Florida in the winter. I don't know that we're big enough to do it all over the country because we don't have that many followers yet. But we're going to keep trying to, I think.
I think once we start traveling a little bit more, again, with us, if we can both go full time working on the channel, I think it would just, again, free up some things, or we get more followers. but then we would also probably be traveling a little faster around the country,
Mhm.
and then probably be doing more stops,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and going to certain areas.
But it was very cool. I think we had like 20 people, and yeah, it was just really fun to meet everybody and things like that. We had some people friends bring us homemade mead and homemade cider. That was really cool. Oh, so a couple people brought us that you can't it's really see it very well, but this is our logo, and put our names on these cups. Oh, it was so cool.
I know.
It was really unexpected, but it was
He actually has a machine in his RV that does that.
yeah.
Like, oh, so you just like
Just
kind of make
take it
cups
with
on
you.
the side. But
So
then the other guy makes mead in his RV.
yeah. Well, no, he makes it at home, and he brings
Does he?
it with him.
Oh,
Yeah, they still have their sticks and bricks. So
oh, right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm not very good looking.
But I know there was several people in the community that came, so that was kind of cool.
The dealer I'm meeting told me the dual pane windows did not significantly help the thermal like home windows do, and don't feel they were worth the money. I felt that was great. He told me that. It was great that he told you that. And that's kind of a theme that I feel to a certain degree with certain things when it comes to RVs. Like, I feel like the solar setup, you still, I mean, if you again buy Battleborn batteries or get some insanely expensive setup, it's hard to justify the money.
What was the quote that we
Oh man, I remember, but I was asking the wrong questions.
yeah.
I didn't know any better. So when I first started down the solar road, I was just obsessed with this mindset. I was like, we have 3 air conditioners in this rig. So again, me being frankly kind of stupid about it, I was like, well, I gotta have enough solar where I can run all 3 of my air conditioners. No,
No.
no. And
A
but I
better
did,
plan is don't go places where you need air conditioning.
yeah. And so I remember going to the Tampa RV show the year after we bought the rig, and I was asking this solar guy, I was like, you know, he's like, well, tell me what you want. And I told him, and I was like, so what do you think that would run? He's like, probably 25 grand. And I was like, oh, wow,
Wow.
okay.
See ya. Bye.
You know, and then I just had it in my head, like, okay, so to get like this full solar setup that they install and can do everything that I'd ever wanted to do, it's going to cost $25,000. Well, and
But
then
after asking a lot of questions, and then the solar consultant that we use, we realized that really wasn't what we needed.
yeah, and I still had that mindset when I first started talking to Dan, um, and he kind of, again, just being diplomatic, he's like, well, okay, if you want that kind of setup, this is all what you're going to need. And he wasn't going to do the install, so he didn't have a dog in the fight. So he was just like, so if you want to install it yourself, you can do that. And this is Dan Hemming, by the way. If you want to look him up, he's awesome. And but so he just then he helped talk me through what I really wanted, what I or what I could get for my budget, and so on and so forth. And one thing led to another. My point with all that is that with the money that we spent, we've already paid for it. We paid for the solar in our first year. Yeah. We actually did the math after having it, because we boondocked so much and because we're in this thing full time. We were able to pay it off even Steven. Now we're good. As opposed to certain things like the dual pane windows, or I even kind of feel this way about an independent suspension. Mm. You know, is like, is that something that's going to, is there a payoff? You know, what's the payoff for that? Like a better ride, or maybe it doesn't shake your stuff around that much, or
safety. I mean, those are all things that you have to consider with independent suspension too. I mean, I think if you can afford it and you have that extra money, I've heard good things from a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, the people that have it, they love it, but that means they've already determined, it's like, well, the $10,000 I paid for it, it was worth every penny because it's everything I dreamed it would be. I'm like,
well,
but
yeah, if it means that much to him, then you don't have it.
I'm just saying, I just don't know. I like the solar because I could say,
I think the bigger thing
is save my money, and now I pay for itself, and it's done.
Yeah. And I think that's a kind of a lesson when you're going to buy your rig for the first time. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we bought, even watching so many channels and thinking we needed these things. And we really didn't know until we got in the rig and started using it. you know, and then we started going, and now that we are boondocking more and we're going off road and we're taking, you know, a lot of hits, that's the first time I ever even thought about, oh, if we had upgraded suspension, this would probably be a lot better for us. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay. So that's a valid point.
yeah,
You know,
but there's other things you just think you need, like, and you'll get, and you're like, I didn't really need that. Years a year down the line, you're like, I really didn't need that.
well,
So
I
it's
think
hard.
James makes a good. I think of it in terms of like things that you're going to use in your life every day. Why do I buy high quality shoes? Well, because I wear them every single day, right? I don't buy cheap shoes because I don't want my feet to hurt. Same with computers. I'm a Mac guy because the last I've had bad experiences with PCs. I finally had my last PC. I said never again. And but like to James' point about the air conditioner, you're gonna, depending on where you're gonna be most of the time, you may use your air conditioners a lot, and for the noise and just the, I don't know. Again, I just don't like
Efficiency.
yeah,
Yeah.
the efficiency to upgrade your air conditioners. Now that makes sense to me. Just if you could afford it, yeah, go ahead and do it because I think it will make your life noticeably better inside the rig compared to not having it.
Mhm. Someone asked about merch. I'm working on it.
Are you?
Hang tight. I mean, like, I started it. It's a lot involved. It may take me a bit, but it is something I'm kind of like slowly working on. Again, it's just one of those like hours in the day kind of situation. I swear I'll get to it eventually. Let's see here. Do you have a video that covers how much solar you need for different size rigs?
No. That's definitely a topic. I mean, there's so much out there
Yeah,
about that already. There's a lot of solar channels out there.
we have a solar video on what we chose and why, but and it gives you all of the guy. We went to a consultant, you know, he asked the questions about what we wanted to achieve and he helped us map out what we needed. But yeah, it's so different with everyone. You know, if you're just wanting to set up to go to Harvest Host, that's one thing. If you want to be off grid, no hookups for long periods of time, that's a whole different thing.
I mean, honestly, you could go to an RV installer and just kind of pick their brain.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
because
nothing
I
wrong.
mean, when I first started with Dan, I had the intentions of doing the install myself. I changed my mind later on once I figured out how much work it was going to be. Plus, we got a pretty good sized tax return, and so I was like, let's just hire somebody to do all this. So, you know, we did end up hiring somebody to install the thing. So in theory, I could have skipped Dan altogether, and I could have just went to an installer and just said, hey, here's what I'm thinking about, but I don't know how much this stuff costs. This is what I'd like to be able to do. Here's the rig that I have. Could you put something together for me? I mean, they probably get those types of requests every day.
Yeah. It's
Um,
part of their business.
yeah, so they have to, you know, and they have people that have different types of budgets and all that,
Yeah.
and they
There
probably,
isn't a cookie cutter. Like if you want to go, oh, you have a, you know, a 20-foot travel trailer, or you have a 44-foot toy hauler, you need X. It doesn't work that way. It depends what you want to power.
well, I mean, I think it to some degree,
I mean, there's only so much room for for
yeah,
panels.
yeah,
So
exactly. Those are some things.
and weight for batteries. Like
Yeah, you're gonna have to think about. I mean, weight, the batteries because they're lithium, they don't weigh anywhere near as much as they used to. The solar panels, they're not super heavy, uh, but the space on your roof, that is a thing. You know, obviously you can only put so many solar panels on a roof, and then the um, the air conditioners. If you are going to try to run an air conditioner on solar, you know, if do you have one air conditioner? Do you have three? I
Mhm.
mean, that's a lot.
A lot of
So
people choose to power one, usually the bedroom when they're sleeping, if they do something like that. But we haven't
but even
really.
that's a lot.
That's a lot to run it that all night. You
I
know,
mean, chances are good that your air conditioner, the compressor is going to turn off during the night at some point, and it's just going to be the fan that's running,
yeah.
and the fan doesn't
And
draw power.
you just honestly, if you're going to be boondocking, don't be in places that are that hot. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's no fun. I mean,
Yeah, I really, I mean, I know we say it, and but we're not trying to be flippant about it, but it is 110% true. When you go out west, when the humidity is down next to nothing, and it gets cool at night when you're kind of close to the desert and all that.
Or the mountains.
Yeah, it is unbelievable how nice it is, and
You just don't need it.
I've went for very long periods where I'm like, man, I can't even remember the last time we turned on the AC.
Yeah.
You know, we just open the windows. It's totally great.
Yeah. Do you have a video on how you pack the toy hauler for travel days?
Yes, actually, you could.
We have a setup and teardown video.
Yeah, it's right there on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I think we show like on high speed bringing the stuff in the back.
Yeah, the thing is with the toy hauler that I love are the L-Track. Again, me not being an RV guy, and I'm sure they probably use L-Track in different places, but I'd never used it before. And if you're not familiar with what it is, go watch the video. But it's basically it's meant to actually tie down like motorcycles and all these big like heavy things that people would often put in a toy hauler. And it's this track that's in the floor, and you have like these heavy duty rings that you can buy on Amazon, and they go down in there in a certain way, and they latches to those, and I use these straps, and I'm able to strap down my boat motor. I'm able to strap down the
bikes,
the e-bikes, which are both very heavy. My bike weighs like 70 pounds, and they stay put.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the L-Track is great.
Would you recommend aftermarket installation versus manufacturer or dealer? Do you mean a solar maybe? Probably.
You know, we don't have. My gut tells me that probably aftermarket's always going to be better. Just because
It depends on what kind of solar package your dealer offers and
what's
going to get you.
And can you answer? Dealers are like Alliance. You know, we talked to because when we bought our Alliance, they were using Renogy. He said
they are not even using it anymore.
He said we ended up stopped putting Renogy in the Alliance RVs because everybody was replacing it anyway. They were replacing it with Victron.
Yeah.
So they're going to start putting Victron in their RVs from now on.
Yeah.
Which I was pleased to hear that, because Victron to me is just kind of like, it's like industry standard. You know, there's Victron and then there's everybody else.
Yeah. Alliance started putting in the Kurt independent. It's not independent suspension, but it's like a suspension system.
We had it in our Tampa RV show video.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. We didn't expect that.
Yeah. It's like this big spring loaded thing on the pin box, and then the same for their suspension system. It's like these big heavy duty springs. It's a very cool, and it cuts down on vibration like 50%.
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see here. Would you suggest?
I didn't really answer that question.
Oh, go ahead.
Though. So I'm thinking with the dealer, I'd say just maybe go in with an open mind, but find out exactly what they're charging for their solar package, you know, down to the penny, if there's a way to figure that information out, and then find out what a similar system would cost you aftermarket. My gut tells me it would probably aftermarket would almost always be a better price. Yeah. Because the dealers, they're not in that business, and they're probably going to look at that as a nice way to mark it up. The
NRVTA does have a solar training if you were like really into it and wanted to learn how to do your own.
Yeah, they basically train people to do it. In fact, the guy that ended up doing our install, I found him through the NRVTA. They have like a website where you could look up solar installers, and he was certified through that.
Yeah. Okay. Would you suggest like Idaho, Montana, etc. for summer? I mean, anytime you can go up in the summer, you're going to be more pleasant. But I don't know. We've done summer all over the place. We did the California, Oregon coast, which was
awesome.
Amazing. So that was, you know, we haven't done a lot
we did the northern coast.
The northern coast, yeah.
We were extreme northern California, like right up there at the border of Oregon.
But we've done, we haven't been, like, that's one of the things we were planning on this year. We were actually going to go across the very top of the United States. That was our plan for summer, all the way to Washington. But, you know, again, we're going to go up as high as we can in Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin. And so
Yeah, just look up,
you can see if you use RV Life, they have the weather little tab in there. It tells you what the average temperature is throughout the months. So you can.
Yeah, I mean, always use that information. Look at the temperature and look at the humidity.
Yeah. Yeah. But you don't know when the black flies are coming. So I've heard that. And I'm
talking about them black flies. I'll probably be creeped out by it because there's certain black flies, like the females. They see humans as big blood sacks. They do. They're literally those big eyeballs of theirs. They see them and like, oh, it's a big bunch of blood, and they go and they like suck blood.
I don't know. I think because there's a whole thing with this black fly season situation. And I'm like, I swear if we go somewhere with it, we're just going to haul up and leave because I'm just not even going to deal with it. We had a little bit of that fly situation when we were near the Badlands, and I had bites all over my legs. I looked like measles.
On the Salem hemisphere, I'm looking at it's 1560 for 440 watts of solar, but to go to 660, it was 12,000.
Yeah, that's not much.
Okay.
Yeah, and then too, it's the watts of solar on your roof, and then there's also your battery amp hours. So they work in conjunction. So you need to have the solar coming in, but you have to have the battery bank to be able to store that energy. And so that's what fuels everything. So it's like that balance between the two.
And then there's the inverter and the solar charge controller. There's a whole thing.
We didn't know any of it either, guys. And so, yeah, we just weren't comfortable until we got the consultant involved. It was just, we would have gotten the wrong thing, I think.
Yeah. And you're dealing with high voltage and, 50 amp stuff. And, you gotta make sure that you have the right length of cables.
The cables are like a big deal.
Yeah. The whole, when it comes to electricity, distance is resistance, and so you can't have cables that are too long. You can't have cables that are too small to carry the particular wattage and all that. So it's important that it's done professionally and done right, because otherwise you could put yourself in danger.
Did you hear me tell my dog no because he wants more food? He's already ate twice. He's such a pig.
He is. Every night.
He's demanding. He's like over there knocking his paw on his food bowl. Like, give me more. It's terrible. Let's see here. Oh, well, we won't be in Michigan until almost August.
2 piggies?
Yeah.
You're going to take your piggies on the road?
He's over here. He's making such a racket, too. I know you can't hear it, but he's like, I'm
just going to give in and feed the damn dog.
Don't give him very much. He's already ate enough. He's already fat, y'all. It's bad. And that's the thing in the RV you can't get away from. You can't throw him out the back door in the yard. So he's just bugging the crap out of us all the time. Oh, the joys of dogs in the RV. That's something we don't really talk about a lot, but it's a big adjustment for your pets too. So just know you're going to have to work with your pets on adjusting to the constant change in environment and places. And like tonight, Barry took him out for a walk, and he goes into like super sniffer mode. Like, it's crazy. It's like, what is it that you're smelling that's so incredible? All right, guys, we have a few more minutes. If you have any questions, now's the time to throw them in there. But for us, I mean, we're here in Florida until April, beginning of April, and then we're heading up into State Park in Alabama. We haven't been to Alabama yet, but we got some cool stuff coming in the videos. So lots of interesting things that we're doing. I'll just tell y'all, since you're here, I mean, we are planning on switching rigs this year. So we are kind of getting this joint spiffed up and fixed. That's one of the things we're doing up in Elkhart when we take the rig in. So one of the things we're adding is the Flex Armor roof. So we're doing that next week. So that should be pretty exciting. So we're going to document the whole thing so you get to learn about it too. And
yeah, so whoever buys our rig,
they get a lifetime warranty on the roof.
They're going to have a lifetime warranty, really nice roof.
Yeah. So that's a kind of cool thing when you do stuff like that, and it transfers from owners. You just have to fill out the paperwork. So that is a
In
plus.
case you're wondering why would they get a brand new roof right before they sell it, it's because we're getting it for free.
Yeah.
We're just going to put that out there.
It's part of having a channel and being an influencer. You get approached by a lot of companies. We turned down 90% of them. But this one was one we thought our viewers would be really interested in. And it was a really good deal for us. So we thought, well, they're like, they've been doing it for like 30 years. They're the biggest name when it comes to flex armor in the industry. No one does it like them. So that's a good opportunity for us. So let's see here. Let's see. I guess if I had to ask you guys anything, like when it comes to thinking about RV life, about being full-time, living on the road, is there or two things that really you're like, I just don't know if I can, I'm fearful. I was so fearful before we hit the road and when we first got going. It was just worry, worry, worry. Like I was excited and I was ready for it. But, I'm like, trip planning was a big one for me. That seems it's so much work. And I ain't gonna lie, it can be a lot of work. It gets better as you do it more and more. What if we hate this RV park? Well, you move, kind of thing. But there's a lot that sometimes can weigh down on you when you're making that transition, selling all your stuff. And if you're selling your house, if you're not, it's a little different. But if there's something that's really kind of weighing on you, we've probably been through it. So whether you ask here or in the Facebook group, please ask stuff like that. And if you're not comfortable putting it in public, message us. I'll answer you.
We've got a few more comments. So Allison's, did you guys like one hitch manufacturer over another? B&W is what
the companion hitch. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just looked at their stuff and I felt like they make really high quality products. In fact, what's that channel where their hitch just fell apart on them and they ended up
Changing lanes. Yeah.
Yeah, changing lanes. They had it. I was honestly not to talk bad about their hitch, but the hitch that they had in there, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah,
especially him because he's kind of
so techie.
He's kind of a gearhead, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty chintzy to me.
Yeah, but he admits it. It was his own. Yeah, he's like, I should have done this and that.
You don't want to chintz out on your hitch. That's that.
And if you have a short bed truck, you really probably should consider that sliding hitch because
for sure.
When you make some sharp turns, your back of your truck can totally hit your front cap if you don't watch it.
You have a fifth wheel.
Even with us with a long bed, like I've had times where I've stopped them because our angle was so sharp.
Really jackknife.
Yeah. So that's something to really kind of think about is if you do have a short bed and you're pulling, like that in a fifth wheel, you should definitely look at that. I mean, Kurt's a good hitch. People ask us of the Gen Ys all the time. We will not comment because we don't know. We don't have one and we're not going to.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much get one hitch and as long as it works, you're not thinking about getting a different hitch.
Yeah.
At least I'm not.
Yeah.
So I think just kind of do your homework and whatever your budget is, just get the best hitch that you can for the money. So James is doing it solo.
Oh, that's your anxiety. Yeah.
As an active
senior,
like
senior. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you're going to figure it out and you're going to be fine and you're going to do it because we know so many people that do. I think of, what is the Border Hookups friend that Nathan, he's out there with the fifth wheel and doing it by himself. And he's got he does everything and he's making it work. Well, I know a woman who's solo, in a class C and, she just broke her foot. She's still out there doing it. So
yeah, James, I'd say, cause there's a lot of seniors obviously out on the road. So it's not like you're not going to have company. I mean, obviously an RV park, especially here, I mean, where we are right now, it's like, there's this community. They pretty much, a lot of people know each other. But even if you go out on the road and you go out West, as far as going solo, as far as companionship and just having people around, if that's what you're
join groups
interested in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Escapers has, Escapees is our mail and domicile service, and they have a branch of their membership called Escapers, and they have all kinds of groups. They have solo women, they have solos in general, they have young families, they have, they have all these separate groups that some of them travel together, they meet up and they socialize together. So that is definitely something you can look into. There's Facebook groups that they meet up like that. So, there you'll find your people. If you make an effort for it, you will. And maybe some people are like, "Hey, I'm doing this life to just get away from everyone." That works for a while, but I'm just telling you, you get to a point where you do crave companionship and people and community, and they're out there. You just have to tap into them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um,
Let's see here.
I was
Oh,
just worried about the trip planning and doing it right without mistakes.
yeah, I hear you. That was probably my number one struggle at the beginning. Um, just take your time, plan it out best you can. I mean, if you're not using something like RV Life, that does make my travel planning a lot easier because you can kind of tell it. These are the kind of RV parks I want to be at. I want to be at state parks, or I want to be at RV parks with these amenities, or stuff like that. So you can kind of help narrow it down, so that, because like sometimes when you pull up that whole map with like all the places, you're like, oh, there's too many choices. So you do have to narrow it down somewhat. And as you go, you're gonna find what you like and what you don't like. Like for us anymore, I will 100% take a state park or a county park first, because they're usually nicer. Like they're quieter, they're more spread out. Now they can be really busy in the
Yeah, they're
summer.
usually less expensive.
They are definitely less expensive, but they're also sometimes not full hookups. So you're going to have to figure out what you want as far as a campground goes, and then just picking the places you want to see. I always talk about the big rocks. I got that from Keep Your Daydream, Trish. Um, what are the places you need to be by a certain date? Like maybe you have a wedding, maybe you have a thing, put those in, and then start looking for the places in between that you've never seen before, or you've always wanted to see. And then map out, okay, well, let's find a campground in that area. And then what I'll do is I'll put that campground in, and then I'll go, what are some fun things to do in that area? And I'll put those into RV Life as well. And, maybe that helps me see how far away they are from the RV park. And what I do is I just don't put a number of days staying there. I just put the location. So you'll be the RV park, and then maybe there's a hike or a store or a restaurant, that I'll put in behind it, but at least I mark it so I know those are the things I want to do in that location. And you'll get the hang of it. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I'm going to tell you, I was super frustrated this summer. I was trying to get a lot of the state parks up in Michigan and stuff. Good Lord, they went. I had my timer set, got up early to get it. I was like, I'm gonna get me a spot. Like because they don't release them until a certain amount of time before the reservation. They were gone every single time. I don't know if it's bots or what, but I finally gave up and just went with some RV parks.
Dang.
It happens. Yep.
The good thing about being solo, I would think, is that especially if you go out west and you have a smaller rig, or if you have a travel trailer, something like that, um, you're going to be able to find boondocking spots super easy. I mean, they're everywhere.
Mm,
It's yeah, it's crazy. So, and you don't have to go that far off road. Although, if you really wanted to,
you
you
can.
could go real deep off road and find some really cool spots. But again, you're not always going to be just like devoid of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you certainly will be, but sometimes you'll be in an area where there's other people like you that are out there boondocking, and
Yeah.
we just love it. But I think about that when I think about going solo. That would be kind of cool if you're a little bit more mobile. Certainly, that we are.
Yeah. But you can also, like, I will say that this park we're at right now, we're in the youngest part of the demographic in this part, that's for sure. But a lot of the people that are here, they're staying for a season. So, there's something to be said when you stay a place a little longer, you save a lot of money. So if you stay a month, you're going to get a cheaper rate most of the time than you do weekly or even nightly. You stay a season, you're going to get it way cheaper. But you are able to connect with a community when you do that, and I would think that's probably a nice benefit. And they do that all across the country, kind of thing. So,
And if you're into pickleball, there are certain places that
Ooh.
have pickleball. Or they'll probably always have pickleball, at least somewhere. Maybe not at the park, but they're going to have one somewhere nearby.
It is a hot thing, that's for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
I always feel bad. I'm like, we should know how to play pickleball, but we don't.
We probably should.
So, yeah.
I used to play tennis.
Oh, Allison, your boss is cool with you traveling. That's what it looks like. Yes,
awesome.
that is awesome. That's probably a bigger, we get that question so much, and it's so, you never know until you have those conversations. So that is awesome.
The 3 3s rule is a good one to live by. 300 miles a day, arrive by 3, and stay 3 days.
I'll agree with that. I mean,
That's pretty bad.
we're a great lesson in blowing that rule out the window during the holidays, and now you can see what that does to people when you do that. Yeah. I even like 2 hours. That's 2 hour drive to the next spot. Only thing here's what something that will happen. You have to be out of your RV park by a certain time, right? And if you're not going very far, you can't get to the next spot until a certain time. And sometimes those don't gel up. And some places are sticklers about it. Like we've had to pull off and wait before. But the other places, if you call them and go, hey, I'm going to be an hour early. Can you still get me in? Sometimes if nobody's in the spot and they had time to zhuzh it up or whatever they're doing, they'll let you. But other places are like, there's a line out. We've seen places online in Florida where there's a line out the whole place onto the road of rigs waiting to get in by the time that they said they could come in. Usually they're Thousand Trails, by the way. All right. Well, we are going to have to wrap it up. It is our time to go. So thank you so much, guys, for coming. We love doing these things because we get to dive into your questions. And whenever you see we're having it, come live because we get to dive in a lot more. If you can't make it, message me your questions and I'll try to go over them, and then we'll put the replay up in the group. So yeah, it's always a pleasure. And thank you so much. We love this course community. It's been one of the best things that we have done, I think, so far, because we get to help you guys, and that just brings us great joy. So have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.